What's up, guys? It is me, your host, Sai, the anime protagonist VTuber, and welcome to the very first episode of the Deep Penetrating Thoughts podcast, where we go balls deep inside thoughts and then come to some realization where we either cry in a corner due to existential dread or cry in satisfaction with the conclusions we make, or somewhere in between, confused, wondering what the hell just happened. And so, this is gonna be the first episode of this weekly podcast. I believe. I don't know. Depends on how often I can record this podcast. But I'll try my best to upload at least once a week or maybe at least twice a month. And depending on the research that I'm going to make, because I have a lot of plans for this podcast, and I want to share my thoughts properly and also check my facts. Maybe some of my thoughts are wrong, so might as well have something. But in this episode, we're not going to go deep in thoughts yet because it's just the intro episode. And if you're a new listener, this would be the best gateway for me, I guess. And if you are one of my audience who already watch my streams, watch my anime reactions, watch my other content here on YouTube, then this is a much more deeper lore drop that I would make, because I have decided that the first episode of the Deep Penetrating Thoughts podcast would be an introduction to me, the host, the host of this podcast. And so, as all of you guys know, I am a VTuber, a virtual YouTuber, and every virtual YouTuber has its own lores, has its own origins. Some say that they're ancient Atlanteans, giant monsters, concept of gods, and I am just an ordinary dude. And this is my story. I don't have a script for this, so we're going all guerrilla on this episode, because it's gonna be my own personal experience, and I'm gonna share it with you guys. So buckle up and hope you guys enjoy my story, my origin story, I guess. So let's get it started. It was a warm summer evening on ancient Greece, and a Greek guy just stared up in the stars and said, "This has nothing to do with my story, because I just want a cool intro." And the first thing that went into my head is Sheldon's intro from The Big Bang Theory. I'm sorry about that. I'm a bit nerdy that way, but let's go straight to my origins. So as not everyone knows this, but as you can know, I am from the Philippines. I'm Filipino. I'm a Filipino VTuber. Even though my primary language for streaming is English, I'm actually more comfortable in speaking in Tagalog. But since I'm trying to attract an international audience, I speak English pretty well, and we're gonna enter into that origin story of how I was able to learn English, because I was never raised like a normal kid. I'm born in a rural area in the Philippines. I will not say the exact way because I don't want to dox myself, but I was born in a rural area in the Philippines, but I am born in a privileged family. So my parents were very influential where I'm from. My mom is a government employee, but she's a very influential government employee because she has the say whether you can work to a government or not. Our entire provincial government, my mom was highly respected. And then my father is a very intelligent man, and he is a very sought after political advisor. The most powerful people on my the most powerful people on my province has at one point or until now seek the advice of my father. That's how influential they are. And despite having this very privileged upbringing, I guess I was never raised like a proper kid. it's because of my father. My father is a very intellectual person. Uh, he is a bit of socialist, but he is a very intellectual person. He's very academic. This is, I had grudges on how he raised me when I was a kid, because I really did fail. Like, it robbed me of my childhood. My father robbed me of my childhood, but my my adult self now kind of understand that my dad is just a traumatized man, because he never got his chance. He never got his chance to be a proper intellectual, because let's me give you a backstory of my dad. My dad was very smart, top of his class, a very intelligent man, and he got himself scholarships at multiple universities. He got offers from multiple universities to study for free. But when he was about to go to college, it was the height of martial law in the Philippines, and in front of the revolution, trying to take off the dictator, students from prestige schools like UP, University of the Philippines, University of Santo Tomas, privileged and smart students were at the spearhead of trying to, fight against the dictator. And my dad was supposed to be going to a university, but fearing for their son's life, my grandparents from my father's side, fearing that my father might join a revolution and get killed by soldiers, they stopped my dad from getting to university. He was never, what you call this, he was never given his chance to be the intellectual that he dreamed of to be. And this very trauma of my dad from what my grandparents did to him was passed on to me. Like, my dad didn't raise me as a kid. He tried to raise me as an intellectual. Even though he's really busy at work. When he's busy at work during the weekdays, my parents are both, very busy at work. I never really had my parents, meet properly, because by the time they go home, I'm already asleep. Because they would work from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. because they were very influential and they were sought after by a lot of people for their advice, for their help. My parents help a lot of people. That's basically what they did. Either they give them jobs, they ask politicians to help them get out of hospitals for free because they don't have Medicare or insurance. These are the things that I'm proud of my parents about, especially now as an adult. But when I was a kid and when I was a teenager, I was really, really resentful of them because my parents were great people. They were great examples. They were heroes, but they were never great parents. And my dad has a trauma too. So let's go back to what my dad did to me. So every weekend he doesn't really work, but he actually pressured me to be intellectual. I never had toys until I was 6 or 7. I never had my own toys since I was a kid because my dad tried to talk to me, forced me to talk at the age of 3, age of 4. At age of 4, a 4-year-old should be playing around and stuff, but my dad is like indoctrinating me with a lot of like literature, forcing me to read a lot. I never really had toys because he breaks my toy. When someone like a neighbor or something gifted me toys, he would just break them. He's saying that you cannot use this is worthless, get a book. Get a book, read a book, be a nerd. So basically be a nerd because he's trying to raise me, because to the point, like, for example, at the age of 8, I actually was reading things like the Communist Manifesto. I was reading I don't know what you call that again, The Prince by Machiavelli. Those books weren't supposed to be read by an 8-year-old, but I have those books. I read them when I was 8, 9, 10, stuff like that every weekend. But go back to the origins here. Um, my my father raised me that way. I never really had toys until I started 6 year old. I wanted to buy my own toys, and so this is the setup here. I was a kid. I was every weekend. I'm being tormented by my father, forced to read academic books, learning how to critically think, and I actually thank him for that because I think I have a very sophisticated way of critical thinking, but it did give me trauma. So even though I have skills in critical thinking, I also grew up as a man child, some sort of man child or something, because I always wanted to have fun, and I'm kind of immature sometimes. So I don't know what happened to me. I'm pretty fucked up as a person, and I'm aware of it, and that's very part of it. So, and then during the weekdays, since my parents are still working, they're working up to the evening. Okay, I stayed with my grandpa on my mother's side. So basically, whenever I go home from school at 4 o'clock, I get to go to my grandpa, and I get to stay there. And then before I get to get picked up by get picked up, I'm not picked up, my grandpa, then after at when when I'm sleepy at after dinner, he would bring me back home, and then I would sleep. He would leave me there until my parents come home at night. So I would sleep around 7 or 8 after dinner, and then because after dinner around 7 or 8, my grandpa would then bring me home, and then I would just sleep. And then I will wake up with my parents waking me up at 7 because I need to go to school at 8, and they have to go to work at 8. So that's the only time I meet my parents on the weekdays. It's just waking up in the morning, 1 hour with them on commute, go to school. And then after I go to school, I go out of school at 4, and I get picked up by my grandpa. I stay on my grandpa's house until dinner, and then after dinner, my grandpa would bring me to the house, and I would sleep. And that's the routine I had since I was 4 until I finished high school. So that's the routine. That's the basic routine of the weekdays. No, not until I finish high school. Around until I'm 9. Until 8 or 9, because at 8 my grandpa died. 9 years old, my grandma still took care of me, but at the other end, I just went home at the age of 8 and 9. I just went home straight to an empty house, sometimes with my brother, but sometimes my brother is going to my tita, so I just stay at home and wait for my parents to come, eat some noodles and stuff like that for dinner, and then sleep. That's at the early age I learned how to cook for myself as well, because my parents are absent. I have nothing to do. So yeah, basically I went to my grandpa, and my grandpa did had, like, what you call this, he has a lot of friends. He is a very cheerful person, and so some of his friends, and I want to say this is gonna be a typical part of my story. So he had a lot of friends from atheist Muslims. They always like play chess. My grandpa is a bit friendly with a lot of people, and that's what I'm good about. That's what I feel good about being raised by my grandpa a bit. Being able to talk to a lot of people of different backgrounds. He is a very charismatic guy. He was a very charismatic guy, and he had Muslim friends. Even though there are a lot of people who fear, where I'm from, there are a lot of people that feared Muslims, but my grandpa got along with them, and one of his closest friends was Tito Hamed. So I call him Tito Hamed. I think his name is Muhammad something, but I don't remember his full name because I've always been calling him Tito Hamed, and also some market people. And then I realized one thing, like for example, toys for kids. I really wanted to have toys, but I know my dad is not gonna buy me anything. My parents are not gonna buy me anything. So Tito Hamed works in the market. And I really asked Tito Hamed, can I get a job? I was 6. I was 6. I don't know. I know it's kind of weird. I was 6. I want a job because I know like money can buy you toys, and I want toys, and to get money you need to get a job. So my Tito Hamed was one of the guys who actually introduced me. This was, during the time the Philippines where child labor is still okay. It's illegal but it's not enforced. But Tito Hamed introduced me to some of the market people, and I became a takatak boy in at the age of 6. So if you have no if you guys, especially Americans here, doesn't know what the takatak boy, wait, the newer generations of Filipinos don't know what the takatak boy anymore is, because life is better now. But during our times, a takatak boy is a boy that sells cigarettes and candy to people, because they're called takatak boys because we're always carrying this big wooden box. We're carrying this like wooden box where we put your cigarettes and coins and candies in there. So, and then we pick the coin, and then we smash the coin in the wooden box. Like it would make a sound like tak 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 tak. It would go tak 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 like that. That's why it's called takatak boys. So we're boys, we're selling cigarettes, and we were like tak 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 tak, Marlboro, Hope, tak 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 tak, Max, Halls, something like that. So we're selling cigarettes, we're selling, that sounds horrible maybe for some Westerners, but that I make a lot of money from that. I was able to buy some bootleg toys with it. So at 6 and 6 years old, I was a takatak boy. I saved up my money, I bought toys, and then I hide the toys in my grandpa's house. So I play with my toys at my grandpa's house, and then when I go home, my dad won't see my toys, because I know if he saw my toys, he's just gonna break them and said it's a waste of stuff like that. So my routine then, now during when I was 6, so I would go home at around 4 or 5. I would go to my grandpa at 4 or 5, and then my grandpa would play chess with the neighbors, and then I would go to the market, and between 5 p.m. until dinner time around 7, I would be on the road. I would be on the streets out there trying to sell cigarettes and candies to jeepney drivers, tricycle drivers, people from there on. So we're selling shit like that. So I've been doing that until I was 8. So for 3 years, because by the time I was 8, the government started enforcing child labor laws. So by the time I was 8, they enforced child labor laws, and the vendor, the wholesale vendor that was giving me the thing to sell, he no longer got me. So he was saying like, I cannot, give you a job anymore, because the government is gonna, send me to jail. I was like, oh, damn it, I lost my income. Damn government, child labor laws is ruining my country. The government breaking my young entrepreneurial spirit when I was 8. That was but child labor is wrong. I never want any kid right now to experience what I did experience when I was a kid. So I thought it was fun, but it's kind of wrong slightly, that sometimes, I don't know, maybe some other kids are being abused and used in child labor, but to me, I was having fun. But I could understand what child labor laws are for, because there would be adults who will try to abuse children and force them to work, get money, and that's wrong. But in my case, actually, I had fun, and I voluntarily took the job. So I don't know about that, but that's basically it. And that was the crisis there. I still needed money, and by the age of 8, that's the time I actually went deep into questionable territory. Because if I mention again Tito Hamed, so Tito Hamed is a Muslim, and in the Philippines we have at least during my time, before I don't think if it exists now in Manila at least, but it still exists somewhere it still exists here where I'm from, but I don't know if in the cities it still exists. But you have like a bunch of Muslim people. They're selling pirated DVDs and CDs. So pirated DVDs and CDs where our boys in hijab. So the Muslims are actually selling those. But and my Tito Hamed was the head mafia leader of my local area. He was, we have a Muslim mafia. So this is a Muslim mafia. There are a bunch of Muslim. It's a gang, and they're not the gang. Well, they are a gang to the point that they have force and stuff, but they do not trouble the ordinary citizens. It's more like the illegal thing they're doing is pirating CDs. So they basically pirating CDs and DVDs. And this is like the weird thing where I live, because like for example, it's illegal to actually, and the government is actually enforcing piracy, illegal stuff there. When you were pirating CDs and DVDs, you get the police will burn the CDs. They would just confiscate them and then burn them. But if the CDs and DVDs are inside Muslim stores, the Muslim stores and the Muslim markets, the police are not gonna get it. They're not gonna take it. They're not gonna take it because in fear of what you call this, because they fear that maybe the Muslim minority would, especially the Muslim gang would riot, and violence would, there just gonna be some religious violence that's gonna go. So when it's inside the Muslim market, the police will not touch it. But when it's on transit from the warehouses where the illegal thing is happening, because they cannot raid it because they don't know where the warehouses are. But when in transit and it gets hit on a checkpoint, it's fair game. The police will burn it. They would arrest the transporters, no matter what religion they are. But once it's inside the store, it's not going to be raided. So Tito Hamed was the head of the operations of pirating CDs and DVDs, wherein they sell it in the markets. And I actually knew that. The police also knew that, but it's fair game. They don't know where the operations was happening. They don't have proper proof. And I knew that too as well. And then I actually said to when I was 8 and I have no longer source of money, I actually asked Tito Hamed, can I peddle your DVDs for you? Because I didn't know I had that idea though. I said you can pay me. I peddle DVDs for you. And Tito Hamed's kind of like, it makes sense, because no police would ever think that a Christian Catholic schoolboy that goes to a Catholic school would be peddling DVDs for the Muslim mafia. So that was the perfect, what do you call this? The perfect transport logistics. And so at the age of 8 until age of 13, for several years, I was doing that. And, Tito Hamed paid me a lot. He never did, he paid me like a normal adult though. That's the good thing about him, because he did pay me the minimum wage at the time, per day. So I was being paid per day for like 2 hours of work. So I had great what do you call this, great work benefits for a child. And that was, he did pay me a lot. And then I get to stay sometimes to his house, and that's where I met his daughter. He had a daughter. He had one wife, which is Tita Fatima, and he had one daughter. And I think Tito Hamed was also very fond of me, because I'm like the son he never had, because he never had a son. He never got to have a son, because after Tita Fatima gave birth to Aisha, she had some sort of complications, and she can never produce children ever again. So they only had one daughter, and Aisha, and we actually, so that's this Aisha is gonna be important to my story too as well. So remember that. And so yeah, I get to spend some time in Tito Hamed's house, and Aisha was my best friend. My not my best my childhood friend. One my first best friend, I guess. My first best friend, childhood friend. She was 2 years older than me. So she's 2 years older than me. And we get to stay. And that's also the start when I got into anime, because there are a lot of pirated DVDs out there, and Aisha and I, before I deliver, after I deliver sometimes the I deliver the pirated DVDs, I would stay in their home and we would watch anime together before my grandpa calls me to have dinner. But so yeah, we get to watch anime, and the first anime I've ever watched with her was Sailor Moon. So that was my gateway anime. So my gateway anime is Sailor Moon, and actually I was struck by it because the first time I saw Usagi strip her clothes to transform into Sailor Moon, I knew I was straight. I knew I was straight. And yeah, so basically Sailor Moon was my first anime, and we get to watch it, we enjoyed it, and spend time together. And yeah, that's basically the what happened to my main childhood. And I get to hang out with Aisha a lot, and as I also like hang out in Tito Hamed's house. Tito Hamed did try to teach me Islam, so he taught me about the Quran. So even though I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, I was given by Tito Hamed to teach a Quran, because I think he really did want a son, but he never had one. And so basically the basic Muslim fatherly love that he has was given to me. So he's gonna be my second dad, I guess, from my first dad. My first dad is a secularist, socialist, atheist. And then my second dad is a Muslim, which is which is wild, man. Really wild. I have a really wild childhood. And so yeah, I didn't really memorize the Quran, but I did know snippets here and there. I did understand a few here and there. And yeah, and the next event in my life that is memorable would be my first girlfriend. So I was around I was almost 13, so I was 12. I was 12 and almost my 13th birthday, I guess, when it happened. And this is the complicated part. You remember Aisha. Aisha is my childhood friend. She is also my first girlfriend. So she was 14, 15 at the time. So she was almost 15 at the time when she told me that she was a lesbian. Dun dun dun. So my childhood friend, I had a crush on her though. So I did had a crush on her when I was with her a lot. She's really pretty. She's very morena, brown skin, but she has a really pretty face. She's beautiful, and she told me she was lesbian, and she doesn't want her parents to know because it's a conservative Muslim household. Even though they're not really diehard Muslims, they're more of a moderate Muslim, but it's still a Muslim household, and what it is that she's lesbian. She's attracted to hot girls. She's really attracted to beautiful girls, and she actually did tell me, and she doesn't want her parents know. And I don't know, I might have jumped into the opportunity that was open before me, because we have shared secrets, and I said we should date. I was like, you should be my girlfriend then, and we could cover it up. Your parents will not suspect you of being a lesbian if we date. And I'll be honest, I did have a little crush on her as a kid, and I jumped to the opportunity, like let's date, let's have a date, and say to your parents, I'm gonna ask your father. I'm gonna ask your father for, to date you. Because that's the very, that's I think that's the cultural appropriate thing to do in their households. I'm gonna ask your father. And then, I asked Tito Hamed, I want to date your daughter. I was 12. No, I was going 13. So I was 13, but I'm already in high school then. This is, because I go 6 years in elementary. I just spent 6 years in basic, and then I got high school at the age of 12. So I was high school in the age of 12. Aisha is also high school, same high school as I am. And I said, I want to date your daughter. And my Tito Hamed said, okay. Even though I'm Roman Catholic, he actually thinks that I would be Muslim anyway. I would be Muslim in the future. He thought that because he was teaching me the Quran. I was, very good at memorizing stuff because my dad is forcing me to memorize books and stuff like that. So he said like, okay, I got the father's blessing. I'm gonna date your daughter. And he said, he actually had a joke on it. He said like, dowry is 6 cows. Give me 6 cows. No, he's saying it in Tagalog daw. So, 6 na baka ha, 6 na baka. So it's baka is cow, so he wants 6 cows. So dowry is gonna be 6 cows. And we were joking around that, and yeah, that's how we actually dated, and that's how I got my first girlfriend. And and actually it was around when I was like 14. 14. A year later, after I had my girlfriend, I was dating Aisha. My parents found out about it, and they also found out that I was peddling pirated DVDs. And since they were in government, my parents were in government, it was a disgrace for them. They got mad at me, and they thought I was, living the gangster life. It's, living a bad life. And they also found out that I was being taught the Quran and stuff like that when they found out. But they cannot stop me from rebelling against them. I was a very rebellious young teenager back then. My dad did what got mad at me. And so but everything else went well. And so the next trigger here is like Tito Hamed died around when I was 16. So when I was 16, Tito Hamed died, and he died of a stroke and a heart attack. It was it was around when I was almost 16. So it was December, I guess, when he died, and then I was 15 then. Next year, it was December when he died, and then my birthday is in June, so it was he died when I was like 15 something. And then in a couple of months, I was about to graduate high school. So I was about to graduate high school on March in 16. And my parents, January, Tito Hamed, Tito Hamed died in December. And then around January, my parents decides when I graduate high school, they're gonna send me to seminary. It's their last ditch attempt to control my life, I guess. My parents tried to control my ditch attempt and prevent me from becoming it's not like they don't like Muslims. It's because Muslims are the minority in my country, and they don't want me to be treated like because some soldiers do abuse their power. They protect the country, whatever, but since we have an Islamic insurrection here, military people are kind of wary of Muslims, and Muslims are wary of military people too. So that's basically it. And since my dad also knows a lot of generals because political stuff, he knows that it's gonna be bad if I were to become something like that. And they decided to send me to seminary, so I would become a Catholic priest. I was destined to be a Catholic. They predetermined that my destiny would be a Catholic priest. And also, since Tito Hamed died, that's also the time when Aisha went open. She was 18 already, when she told her mom she was going to local college. Local college? What do you mean? She was about to go to a local college or some? No, not local college. To a college in Manila. When she told her mom that she's a lesbian, and they had a fight, and that fight spilled over with her relationship with me. They had a fight with Tita Fatima and something like that. I don't want to peer in too much into detail, but you know what it means. She basically left. I tried to stop her, and then she said, I'm going to seminary. She also knew that I was going to seminary, and she said, we cannot be together because I'm gonna be a priest, so you're gonna be a Catholic priest, and I think we should break up. And I got broken. Got heartbroken, man. I got heartbroken, but I did, and I said like, okay, it's fine. And she went to not Manila. I guess she went somewhere in Manila, but I still kept contact with her through cell phone. I got my first cell phone. It's not a 3310. I forgot the unit, but it's Nokia. It's Nokia, but not 3310. But I did still in contact with her. We still exchange number. It's like we never really got in a proper fight with Aisha. So Aisha and I never really had a fight, and we actually broke up in good terms. Like he already said, she already said that I'm not her type. I'm not her type because she likes girls. She doesn't know why. She views me as the closest friend she would ever have. And we kept in touch through cell phones and stuff like that. And then, 3 months later, oh man, the mic went down. Sorry about that. 3 months later, I graduated and I was sent to Christ the King Seminary to become a missionary. So it's not that there are different types of priests. Just so you guys know, there are the diocese priests, and then you have the missionaries who are members of specific orders. And in my case, I was going to join the order of the Oblates of the Mary Immaculate. They are an order that specializes on priests mission into Muslim majority areas. So that's basically it. I chose that myself because I had to choose like between Jesuits, Franciscan, Dominican, SVD as well, and I chose OMI because I think it will be a breeze because I have background on Muslim culture, and I think I would pass that. So I was sent to seminary, and I was a bubbling 16-year-old when I got my freshman in college, and this is now the second part of my life, I guess. This is my young teen part background. And so I was like 4 months into seminary. I was kind of fucked up. I'm not really a good student. Sometimes I'll escape it with my other friends because we're not, we're still people. We're not like holy men. And especially me, I was just forced to be sent there. So sometimes, since first time in Manila, we basically are in seminaries, in boarding seminaries. We actually go out from time to time, and we try to escape after class, and then try to sneak up inside the seminary at night, something like that. So 4 months into the seminary, my seminary education, I met the second girl in my life. Basically I was, we escaped. One time we did escape again, and we went to a bar with the boys. We escaped, and then we went to a bar, and we started drinking like a bunch of teenage boys. And that's when I met Bridget. She's gonna be my second girlfriend, but at the time she identifies as bisexual. She's a bisexual girl, and she was disowned by her parents. She is also a few years older than me, so I was 16 at the time, and she was 19. She was 19, and she was working. She's a working girl. She was a working girl. She was working in as what you call this, salesperson. She's not a salesperson. She's someone in the mall. A girl. If you go to the Philippines, there are women in the mall, like offering stuff to you, selling products to you, something like that. She's like that. So she's basically sales girl. She's a sales girl. She's bisexual. She actually opened up. That's how she opened up to me when we were drinking, and I was like, I'm bisexual. I like girls and boys, and and I was like, okay. And she was disowned by her parents. Her parents were evangelical Christians, and they are in the very conservative side. She actually told me that they were her father was a pastor that preaches that the Pope was the Antichrist, something like that. And I'm a Catholic seminarian. I said that I'm a seminarian for now, and I don't know. I'm just trying to find my way. And so yeah, she did say that her father was a pastor and a very conservative one, and she got disowned when she said that she's also interested in girls and they cannot accept her. And it was like this, which is kind of familiar. I don't know why am I being attracted to girls with conservative parents problem, something like that. But so yeah, we exchanged numbers, texted a bit. I courted her through text, and sometimes when I escape, we go out and go drinking. And I think by January the following year, after 3 months of talking to her, we dated. We got off into a relationship. She was my girlfriend, even though it was forbidden for me as a seminarian to have a girlfriend. So I was like, at first we were just at first, then yeah, this is how important it is. So we did date for about a year, and then that's not really a year. It's almost like 2 years. So 16, 17, 18. So yeah, we broke up when I was like 19 years old. So 17, 18. So almost 2 years. 2 years. It's actually 2 years. So 2 years. I was just I was studying philosophy at first. So that's if you are going as a priest, you have to study philosophy, theology. No, theology is gonna be the last part. You need to first be knowledgeable in philosophy and then psychology. And since I'm joining the order of OMI, I also need I need to learn interreligious dialogue. So the first few years is gonna be just philosophy and basic subjects, and then this is so I was still studying. I was the best in school as well, because I'm still thankful of how my father raised me, and which means gathering information, research, essays, and stuff like that, just easy for me. It's easy for me because I was trained for critical thinking when I was still a kid, but never had fun. I never had fun doing it. But so I was going through a breeze, and then around 3 years, 2 years in the seminary, I was starting to have theology subjects. And I had fun, so I was good at school as well, and secretly dating a girl outside, and that's basically it. And then the wedge between me and Bridget happened when I started taking theology class, and I got into Jesus. I got into Jesus. I was 18 when I really got into Jesus, and I got it started reading him, not just the sanitized Jesus that normal Christians know, but the deeper Jesus, the complex one, even the secular view of Jesus. And I just realized that Jesus is a good dude. Jesus is a chill dude. He's like, he's the person that you want to hang out with. He is the person that you would likely to hang out with, at the same time also respect. It's kind of weird, but I got really into theology. I got really into theology. I got into Jesus stuff, and whenever I go out with my girlfriend, I share shit, because if you started to get interested in something, you try to share it with the people you love. And I'll be honest, I really did love her. I loved Bridget. But and then when I opened up for a couple of months, and then she just said to me like, "You're starting to sound like my dad." And that's where the awkward thing happened, because as you can know, like, she was disowned. So she was disowned, and I'm starting to style like her dad. And that's when she started acting a bit. And then at my 19th birthday, she cried and just said that, because I still stayed with her, because for an entire year we were dating. So we were dating when I was 17, and then 18, and then for the entire year, it was around 2008. I was very patient with her, and I could understand, and I could understand her own trauma. But she was acting up like, she was acting up a lot, and she was, a typical, questionable woman. But it only happens when I start opening up about Jesus. When I started opening up with Jesus, and she started, and then during my birthday though, she actually cried, and then she said, I'm sorry, I was just being bad girlfriend to you. And she said, I deserve better, because she could never say anything bad to me. I was really good at her, and it just broke her apart. And she was like, I know she was a broken girl. She was a really broken girl, and I really sympathize with her. And then she said that I deserve better, or else let's just break up too as well, because I'm going to be a priest. I'm still, I was so interested with Jesus now, and I already forgot. Oh right, I'm gonna be a priest, and a priest cannot marry. And we're not gonna get together, right? And she said, let's break up, and then it was my birthday when she said that. And then think about it first, and either we break up, or I go with her and leave seminary. Leave seminary and go with her. That's how the conversation went. Either go with her and leave seminary, but she's not saying that I should do that, because think about it properly, because she had been a bad girl to me for the past months, even though and she just felt guilty about it. And then the other side here is that since I'm going to be a priest, I'm not allowed. So either I choose Jesus or I choose her and leave and stuff like that. And I don't know, and I interpreted that as some sort of test. And then I actually thought about it too as well, because I have no idea how to because when I'm in Manila, like, they emphasize here that you have a degree or something, and I don't know if I could have a proper job when I leave seminary, since it's gonna be hard. I only have a degree in philosophy. That's basically it. So not even a full degree. It's just gotta be an undergraduate, and it's gonna be hard to find a job like that unless you are going to be a priest. And so yeah, and also, like, I thought about it too. Like, I don't know if I just gaslighted myself for some reason, but I thought that this must be Jesus' test. I interpreted it like, I'm being tested by the Lord. I am being tested by the Lord, and either I leave him or I join. I either I leave him and join the bitch. She's not a bitch. It's a joke. She knows my humor though. She's okay with it. But either I leave Jesus or I stay. And so we broke up, and I stayed in seminary, and I said, and that's the start of my zealous phase. That's actually the start of my zealous phase when I was around 18. I was 19, I think. Yeah, I was 19. It was after my 19th birthday. So a week later, I told her I'm staying as a seminarian, and let's break up. So we broke up in proper terms. She was okay with it. We still exchanged numbers, but we rarely talked. So that's how my second relationship ended. And that heartbreak, I basically just used it to fuel my zealotry. I was like, so into theology then. And after that, I was like so into my studies. I was trying to be, I will be the best priest there could be. I'm gonna be the best missionary out there. I'm gonna be the best, knowledgeable. And my professors loved it because I was always the best. I was like, I was passing everything in flying colors. And that's what I did for the next 3 years of my life, focusing on my studies. And then we're gonna have another plot twist. This is the next plot twist in my life. I was 22, so I was being prepared for my deaconship. Not deaconship, temporary deaconship, in which I was about to, prepare myself. Then after an entire year, I will be sent out, and then sent out to a specific diocese or location, and then 3 years later, I would be ordained. Could be ordained. So I'm in their last stages. I was in the last stages of being a missionary and deaconship, and I got a text from Aisha. So I still am in contact with Aisha, and I'm still in contact with Tita Fatima, because the weird thing here is Aisha and Tita Fatima are not talking to each other, but they are asking me about what's happening to the other. So I'm in contact with Tita Fatima. Tita Fatima always asks me what's happening with Aisha, and then Aisha is also asking me what Tita Fatima is. So that's basically the relationship I have with my first girlfriend. So we're still making contact, and Aisha texted me. So Aisha texted me that she found a girlfriend, and I was like, oh my god, I'm happy for you. And and she wanted me to meet her girlfriend. She wanted me to meet her girlfriend, and they said they met somewhere in Pasig, and they hook up. She didn't realize that she finally got herself she was attracted to her and finally got her girlfriend. And the plot twist here, so we set up and said, yeah, let's meet up. This has been like 3 years after my second breakup. So we meet up, and lo and behold, Aisha is dating Bridget. What a small world. Oh my god, what a small world, man. Like, Aisha, my first girlfriend, who is a lesbian, is now dating my second girlfriend, who was bi. And that was one of the most awkward things, especially between me and Bridget, when she said, oh my god, she was my ex. She said, this is your girlfriend? And Aisha said, yeah, she's my ex. And I went, what? And then Bridget said, how do you know him? And then, oh, because she's my ex as well. I dated both of you. And that was pretty awkward. And then we just had a laugh with it, and yeah, everything went well. And I repaired my relationship with Bridget. Bridget was ecstatic as well. We got it as a joke, and then we had a lot of jokes with each other, and we still get in contact. And then I get to contact Bridget as well, and they were happy, and I was happy for them. I was really happy for them. And then we were good friends for about a year, until another plot twist. So I was about to end my deaconship course, and I was supposed to be sent out now. So I was 23, and this sent out as first step of being an ordination. You're gonna serve a diocese. You're gonna be sent to some diocese and serve there, to be and then after 3 to 5 years, if the bishop obliges, you will become a priest. So that's basically, I'm on the last stage of being a priest. And since I was going to be out, become a priest, and we wanted to celebrate a bit. And this is the next plot twist of my life. So how could I deliver this? So yeah, I escaped. It was a night. It was an evening. I escaped, and then I went to Aisha and Bridget, and we started drinking. A celebration because in a few months I will be sent out to a mission, and then complete the journey of being a priest. And you know it was just me, Aisha, and Bridget. We were going to their small boarding house. We were drinking, we were talking about, we were joking a lot. Aisha was sharing my relationships with her, and then Bridget sharing my relationship with her. We were joking around, and then I don't know, it was the alcohol. I can't remember what the fuck did I say, but it was during that night. I don't remember what the heck did I say, but I splurted out maybe something in between, like I love them both or something, something like that. And one thing led to the other, and that's how I lost my virginity. That's the first time, my first experience. It was, I don't know, it's I had okay, a lot of guys might say, yo, you have the most awesome opportunity. Some of you guys might even say that that's bullshit, but that's experience. That's my first experience. That was my first experience. I was about I was about to be sent out, and before I was sent out, I lost my virginity. Goodbye vow of celibacy. And a lot of guys would have loved that, right? Would have loved that. But to me, I was devastated. When I woke up in the morning, all of us naked, because when I woke up in the morning, I was like, fuck. I was like, fuck. I failed Jesus. I failed the test. I was so devastated that day that I wasn't able to return to seminary. I just went back to my boarding house. My seminarian master asked me where I was, but I didn't even look at him. I just went, took my stuff, and I said I was leaving. And I said I was leaving, and I was like, a lot of them tried to stop me though. Said like, you are the best, the best one we have, and you are going to be the best missionary there is. And you were, because I was the best in my class. And then I just couldn't say why I was leaving. I was like, I'm gonna leave. And I was filled with guilt and shame and shit like that. I was so like saying like, I interpreted that moment as my, I was zealous. I was very zealous that I believed that I would be the best missionary ever, because I have extensive knowledge of stuff, and I'm very good at it. And I was going to serve God and Jesus, and at the first sight of two pussies, I crumbled. My only weakness, nothing can stop me unless my only weakness, which is the lingering feelings I have with both of my exes. And I failed. Goodbye vow of celibacy. And I just, what I did is I just left that seminary that day. I went home. I never talked to anyone. I just went home to my house. I cried in front of my mom. Was that I failed God, something like that. And I was depressed. As shit. And I was like, yo, that was bad. That was a really depressing thing of my life. I was 23, and I went back home, and I was depressed for a couple of years. And I still kept like an outside happy facade when I'm with strangers and stuff, but most of the time I'll just go home and sob. And I did had some suicidal thoughts too. During that time I had suicidal thoughts. I wanted to kill myself, but I'm afraid that if I kill myself, I'll come face to face with God, and I'm afraid to look at God and says, sorry, I had a threesome. I'm sorry I had a threesome. And something like that. And it got me devastated. I really was. I didn't know. So I had to cope though. And I was really depressed for 3 years until 2016. So 2016, this is how I got out of depression. So I was really depressed because I was afraid. That I failed God, and I barely go to church at that time. And I started becoming degenerate too, as well as I started becoming an alcoholic at the time, as well as in the times of depression. I became alcoholic. I started doing hedonistic things. After that, I started hedonistic things, having one night stands. And I'm pretty lucky I never got AIDS. But for 3 years I tried to drown my depression with hedonistic things. It was the lowest point of my life for 3 years, 2013 to 2015. And so yeah, that's the lowest point in my life until 2016. So this is what happened in 2016. So in 2016, no, not 2016, 2017, I guess. Yeah, it's around 2017, 2016, 2017. I already forgot, but I was depressed for years. And then around 2017, 2016 again, I just opened the television, and lo and behold, a news. ISIS, Abu Sayyaf, an ISIS affiliated group, invaded Marawi. And that sent shivers down my spine. That was the thing that broke me out of my depression. And I was like, fuck. Because if you can remember, I was going to join the OMI. And since I was the best when it comes to, theology and stuff. Specifically, I was really good at interfaith dialogue. So I can talk to atheists, I can talk to Muslims, I can talk to Buddhists, stuff like that, because I am aware of their religion, and I could explain the faith as well. And since I was the best, I would have been sent to the most hostile location. I would have been sent to a place where the interpretation of Islam would have been the most radical. And knowing myself, I would have tried to talk to those people, tried to make peace with those people, because my experience with Muslims is good. So I might have assumed that all of them are. And like every religion, there would be the crazies. And that's when I realized I would have been sent to Marawi. And I would have died. And it said, God is fucking awesome. Because I was really zealous when I was in seminary. I was really zealous back then. And I would have accepted that mission as if, irregardless of my life, I would die a martyr. That's how zealous I was. And God knew that. And so I interpreted that, okay, the intellectual inside of me still has doubts, but my faithfulness inside of me, something like that, thinks that, God used my very weakness because He wants me alive. And that got me out of depression. Boom. I got me out of depression. I was like, fuck, what am I doing in my life? And I was like, oh my God. That was, I think, like, boom, dawn upon me. And that's basically it. That's basically the biggest twist of my life. And then I said, okay, I just dedicate my life to social work, And so I started working as well. I did start working when I was still there, but I started to take my work seriously now, because I work in an orphanage. I work as I work as a social worker, wherein we develop youths, we develop children. Uh, Also, we also have like help prisoners. So I help prisoners too as well. The outcasts, the outcast and the uh, forgotten of society. So I dedicated my entire life with that, and that's basically it. So I also made friends along the way. And, oh yeah, I almost forgot to tell you that most of my friends are introverts, because when I was young, since I was backed by the Muslim mafia, this is the detail I forgot to tell. When I was like also in elementary and all, I made friends by saving people from bullies. Because I started as since I was backed by the Muslim mafia, a lot of bullies are afraid of me. So a lot of bullies are afraid of me because if they tried to mess with me, they're gonna deal with the Muslims. So I made friends because I have this superhero complex when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I had superhero complex. So let's go rewind back to 8 years ago. Let's rewind back when I was 8 years old. So I did make friends because this part is gonna be relevant for my current affairs. So years ago, I made my friends by saving them from bullies. So because I was like watching anime like Goku and Yu Yu Hakusho and some superhero cartoons as well, like Justice League and stuff like that. Batman, my favorite was Batman, and then some Spider-Man. And I was like, with great power comes great responsibility, shit like that. And I was like, I should protect the weak. And most of my friends are nerds. And that's the same reason why I chose this profession. Like I was, drawn to the outcasts of society. I have this like feeling that I should, care for them, something like that. And that's why, even though it doesn't pay well, you're not gonna be rich, but it's satisfying. And that's how I got my job, and that's also how I got my friends. And most of my friends are nerds, and even though I am outgoing and I'm forcing them to actually drink with me sometimes, that's how I got it. So I was working like this, and then I'm also like I have a very complicated hobby. So I'm outgoing, and at the same time I'm also a weeb. And so that's basically the most interesting parts of my life. So fast forward to 2020, the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, actually donations for the facility dried up, and so I had to take a pay cut. And because if I don't take a pay cut, we won't be able to feed the orphans. So I didn't just take a pay cut. I actually take a lot of months off, and I almost got COVID too as well. And that's when I started to decide like I should start becoming uploading stuff in YouTube, because when I was stuck inside, we were quarantined. We were one of the first quarantined locations in the Philippines. I was just stuck, and I should just go do YouTube. And I was into like anime stuff, and then 2020 the VTuber boom was happening, and I got my first Oshi too as well, because I like my Oshi as inspiration for back. It's like I should start VTubing. And since my life is cancelled, my life has been cancelled because I'm stuck in my house. I should just start it. And I did start studying about softwares and stuff like this. I still suck at editing, and yeah, that's how I start this career. And but this is just for fun, because for fun now, because at first it's gonna be new income, and then I said, nah, I'm just gonna do this as a hobby, because most of my friends are now adults. Some of them have families now, and it's now rare for me to hang out with them, because some of them have families, some of them have children, some of them have like busy jobs. So I have a lot of free time, especially in my evenings. So I don't go out that much anymore since the pandemic. And I was like, yeah, I should start recording and streaming stuff like that, as to and here I am, starting a podcast. This is where we left off. And yeah, so I met a lot of good people now and online, like one of my regulars. Shout out to Raiden. We have Freeman now, who's also watching me on Yu-Gi-Oh, and we have other people like Andrew and newer people that I might meet after the recording, because I'm recording this on March but I'm uploading this on April. So yeah, that's basically the story of my life. And here we are, starting a podcast. Hopefully, I don't know what the future has in store for this, but I just want to share my thoughts and feelings and stories. You can believe them or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't invalidate my experience, but you have to admit, it's a good story, right? And yeah, I guess that's it. See you in the next podcast, guys, and the next episode. I hope you enjoy it. Leave some comments if you have something to say, or you can also leave some suggestions, because I'm still thinking of what else should I talk about in this podcast of mine. But I want to focus on things like, since I'm qualified, I know philosophy, I know theology, I have psychology knowledge too, as well as a social worker. I have a lot of experience, and I attended a lot of seminars and stuff like that. And since I was raised to be an intellectual, I have a critical thinking ability better than normal people. I don't know, that sounds kind of self, what do you call this, I don't know how to translate it in English, but I'm not boasting at all. It's just that I'm aware of my skills, and hopefully we could get things through, because this is the first time I'm also making something like a podcast, and I think it's gonna take it took us an entire hour. Thank you for listening for the entire podcast, and see you guys in the next episode. This is the end now. Bye bye. Thank you.